within the context of an organisation, the benefits of a credit union, again, are fairly easy to identify. Everyone in the room is involved in organisations that deal with communities. And the central theme of what credit unions are about is local communities. In essence, you want people within local areas to come together and to form a club. And as many of those people as possible joining the club means that other people in the club or who are not in the club and would like to join the club can use the services. So it's a very simple concept. It isn't exactly rocket science and doesn't take an awful lot of time to understand how that community aspect of what we do filters through everything from health to general well-being, and the financial elements of well-being really are a cornerstone of what credit union activity is about. After that, we looked at, just in general terms, again, within the organisations, how the organisations around the table could add to that agenda. Talked about payroll services, again, and coming up with a relative good practice framework for organisations to be able to integrate with their local credit unions, to deal with the matters of governance, to deal with the technical aspects of how money is taken from payroll and is assigned to a member account. I just had a little bit of a conversation with Nicola from Bridgend in that regards. Cardiff operates a payroll service for NHS Wales. I know Bridgend do something similar. And for example, the operational impact of a varying movement of monies is the thing that causes us most problems. So within payroll, money is deducted at the time of month and should be dispatched. If there's any delay in the money being dispatched, it can lead to a very unhappy member who's expecting the money actually to be deposited in their credit union account and it's not there. So, that is a fundamental and a very basic way that the products could be designed going forward to work together. And that, I guess, fed into a wider conversation in relation to services. We dealt with the access issue. We dealt with the rurality issues of how do you access services if you're in very rural communities. Credit unions are conscious of that. The Welsh Government Collaboration Fund that's currently being rolled out across Wales includes a very significant IT project, and part of that IT project is that people will be able to join their local credit unions online and would be able to use the online capability in order to access services. So that is one very simple way of dealing with that. I guess if the credit unions were asked to provide one simple answer to how we would improve access, it's beyond the current collaboration project, it's in accessing the public service broadband aggregation network that runs throughout Wales, and that is something that the NHS could certainly help us with. So I guess that's a slightly separate agenda, but that's where we are. I don't think there's much else that could be added. Probably gone off piste, that I normally do, so I wouldn't worry about that. Is there any other points you'd like me to raise?
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Do we have some notes that we can nod to the... I can see your notes there, so we can... That's fine, okay. Moving on swiftly, there's some key elements, really, in terms of how we gather some of that practical elements. And can we just make a note of those easy, quick wins, really, in terms of some of the technology issues, communication issues between payroll, etc. This could provide us with a catalyst to begin those discussions on an all-Wales basis. So over to the next table then.
Hello, Menna Davies, Department of Work and Pensions. Gai wedi diolch yn gyntaf am y cyfle i fynychu'r bore diddorol iawn. Thank you for the chance to attend this very interesting and inspirational morning with the speakers that we've had so far. Okay, as a table, we're quite a mixed bunch. We have members of the credit union, we have trustees, and people like myself who are very interested in the credit union, thanks to my talks already with Vanessa Owens of the West Wales Credit Union. And some of us have no sort of personal experience of the union, but we are working closely as organisations. So, firstly, as individuals, I mean, quite a basic one, but a very interesting and important one. One of our members of the table is already the recipient of a Christmas fund from the West Wales Credit Union. Money was taken out of her wages every month through payroll, and at the end of the period, she had quite a sizable chunk to enable her to enjoy her Christmas very much more. So that's quite a personal reflection on the organisation. We've learnt through our conversations that there's easier access to loans, small loans really, and moving away from payday loans, which I think we all welcome an alternative to that facility. Easy payments if your payroll organisers are on board with it. And that's something that I need to personally take back to my organisation and try and research how simple that would be for my staff and my colleagues. I think if we are members of the credit union, we can lead by example, and we can sort of justify then our signposting of our claimants and our customers. So again, that's maybe a personal note for me to think about it for my own benefit as well. Safeguarding for vulnerable people, one of our colleagues here alluded to the consolidation companies that seem to be actually taking advantage of vulnerable people at the moment by offering to consolidate all their debts into one payment, but actually that customer still ends up paying quite a bit to that consolidation company. So we're thinking, would credit union be a viable alternative to that? The personal service has come over in our discussions with people who actually work for the credit union. And also, I was looking for a hook that I could sell it to my colleagues, and I think it's cheaper than high street banks, and the instant saver accounts are quite competitive. So I think that's probably what would get my staff to buy into it. So I'd need more information on that. As organisations, I think what we all felt was that we have a social responsibility. There are cultural changes brought about very much by the welfare reform, and that we all have a part to play in supporting our neighbours, our community, and the vulnerable amongst us. As an organisation, again, we were looking at the saving habits for employees to promote this, and we would look at workshops and training around the credit union benefits for our employees. From my own organisation, Department of Work and Pensions, I know I've been speaking a lot to Vanessa Owen about the changes that are going to come about because of universal credit. The main one being that the 6 benefits would be rolled into one, and whereas a claimant would have had their benefit fortnightly, it's now going to be paid on a monthly basis, and that's going to have a major impact on a lot of our claimants. And I think by working with credit unions, we can cushion that blow a little bit by getting people to save with credit unions and have the money sort of ring-fenced and protected for them. Again, if we do, as organisations, get involved with credit unions, hopefully we can then maybe start influencing policy as well. Sorry, I'm going on a bit here, so I'm going to speed up. Joint working came over very strongly with us, and we needed to promote the benefits through newsletters, social media. And really, one of the last comments we had was on a bit of a cutthroat basis, that it can save money for your company as well, because if people have this intervention earlier with organisations like credit union, it can save, for example, homelessness and even increase poverty, which creates far more work for organisations like local authorities and Department of Work and Pensions. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, very comprehensive. I'm glad to see you here. I think you're a key player, really, in terms of the work we're doing, and the Department of Work and Pensions will be key in terms of the work we take forward. And some key messages there, again, about marketing with your own staff, knowing what's out there. I think that's going to be a key priority. I think there's a general lack of awareness. We're going to have to speed it up a bit now in terms of the feedback. So obviously the food has just arrived, so if we can go over to your table there. Yeah, right, feedback.
Okay, what we've been asked to do within the group, just quickly, we have 4 people who I think got very wide credit union experience, and just 2 individuals really. We're starting on the credit union adventure, I think, and how we go on. Now, we targeted our discussion basically on how could you promote credit unions within the NHS. So our discussion was quite targeted. Or we came up with an external piece of work first to raise awareness of the credit union movement. So be clear on developing a more centralised marketing material, which is actually consistent. So everybody's selling the same idea. And then using that to help us to deliver to the third sector, doctors, health workers. And the result of that, it hitting the NHS and also the wider NHS, which would go into the community to advocate the actual service we're actually offering. Within the hospital, very clear, I think this discussion was, that we should look for champions, ideally on each ward, which would be representative of the workforce, and they could go in and have direct targets within their staff of what they want to achieve. So they become the credit union representative, in effect, in that ward or in that sector, where buying has actually taken place. For example, within the police, it's almost automatic within some police services. But when you join the Fed, you join the actual credit union, and becomes culturally embedded because of that. Trade union support, again, we just don't want to see it as a top-down approach. We want to see the workforce pushing it up as well. So can we get the trade unions to buy into that? Identifying key people within the hospital for making sure delivery is advanced. So we're looking there at personnel, HR, payroll, all were directly involved in that piece of work. And then looking at key campaigns. Are there essential issues which come up within the workforce that the credit union group can actually offer services to, such as Christmas has already been mentioned, or issues which are endemic to that particular hospital. Like, should we use endemic in hospital? Actually, we've actually put that in place. Finally, it's actually the work between the credit unions themselves to make sure the issue is done correctly. So it's really looking at best payroll practices, because there's a lot of experience in this room already. Now, what has worked the best way within each individual credit union to increase payroll work? Looking at the credit unions themselves for more direct marketing. What has actually worked within your area? What hasn't worked? Just as equally important in your marketing campaigns. And actually looking at, again, a more centralised one-message approach. So we're not having a myriad of leaflets out there with slightly different bits of information, targeted at different areas. It's a clear message that we're trying to bang through to everybody who are joining the organisation. I will stop there. Anyone else want to chip in? Or go on?
Excellent. Thanks very much, Gareth. Excellent contribution again. And again, that's a lot of valuable information that we can need to collect today, and some very interesting points there about raising the awareness within the NHS. I mean, nobody looks at you when you've got a mic, isn't it? And nothing I said, is it? No, there we are. Good. So over to you, Vanessa, I think it is.
Get the same message from the tables, really. We've got housing represented on our table. So obviously for housing, it's not really a new concept about working with the credit unions and the jam jar accounts and all that sort of thing, and direct payments. You know, we're all working in our own areas to sort of move those projects forward. Payroll has come out of here, that we need to get simple, efficient processes. So like you say in the table, we need to collaborate a little bit on that and see what's working and what isn't. I think, obviously we've got Lee here from Money Advice, so that was a key thing that came out with us, is how we can work a little bit more with Money Advice by putting their resources on our websites and things like that, and working to sort of better partner with organisations on delivering money advice. The 14 to 19-year-old agenda sort of came up with sort of the numeracy framework, and how the money is and has to be linked to numeracy framework, and it's going to be delivered within our schools. And which was quite interesting for me on this table, because obviously I'm working alongside Delegates to deliver our financial sort of education pilot that we're looking to deliver within our schools and within our areas. What else is on here? I think what came out of our Tenevus partners here is that we do live in a very culture-led environment, and that we need to sort of look at getting into the perception of credit unions within our communities, and that we're going to have a change of culture to actually be able to engage a little bit more as a credit union, and that we have got a big PR job ahead of us to actually get our credibility out there, and that engaging with our partnerships and our partners and things like that is actually going to help us, sort of have a local networking and be able to actually provide support for our members and our customers, really. And that's about it.
Lots of good points again. A lot of it is actually around raising the profile of us already out there. I'm learning all the time. Every table has given me a lesson in terms of what is available out there. That's one question though. Is there a stigma around credit unions? There is there? The thought, sort of, you talk about the culture, etc. How are people addressing that? Is there a way around them? I notice that credit unions are known by different names, etc. They adopt different names. Is that something that's obviously is prevalent across all areas, that it is seen as something that isn't good to be part of, that you're actually going to a credit union? Is that something? Okay, it's interesting. It's just not because we've been up against the whole issue of this. For example, I mentioned it again, young carers, for example. It's not something that your peer group will want to sort of think it's very good that you're actually a young carer. And I think it's the stigma and the cultural elements that we've got to address. So it'll be an interesting point, really, as we discuss this afternoon some of the barriers around any of that. I'm just presuming now, I'm just saying that might be something that we'll discuss later on. So over to the next table. Oh, ready at the mic. Here we go then. So if we could have your feedback then. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A lot of similar themes, I think. But I think what came across to us was, as individuals, that anybody could become a member of a credit union. It didn't matter what your social background was, it didn't matter what your aspirations were, and as long as you were in that credit union common bond, you could join. What else came across was the commitment of the credit union to its members, because the staff and the volunteers were members, were passionate about credit unions, and we sort of instilled that passion into our members and in what we do. That we were accessible and accountable as well as an organisation. So those were a benefit to our members, because if they had a problem, if there's something they wanted to know, if they had a question, they knew that there was a way that they could get the answer, and they knew that if there was something that they could change, how to do it. And I think that's about the services that credit unions provide. It was said right at the start that credit unions are all independent, and they may offer slightly different services depending on where they were. Two credit unions here, West Wales Credit Union and Dragon Savers Credit Union, obviously two of the best because they're on this table. And we do offer a wide range of services and complementary to our members. And the reason that we offer them is because our members have come to us, or we have identified from our members that they would be useful to them. So what are the benefits to you as an individual? That it's there, and it's there for you, so use it. As an organisation, it was about building relationships between health and financial frontline staff. And that still there was a personal approach, so although it was organisation to organisation, that there was somebody there, and that you weren't just, dealing with the organisation, that you would have a named person, and really be able to make things work because you would know the person that you were working with. We had budget awareness as well. That was how would you use the credit union? It gave you budget awareness. When people apply for a credit union loan, they're encouraged to write down their income and expenditure. It's not always accurate. The loans officer should be going through that with that person to raise their awareness of what they have. We had payroll deduction down as something useful. Saving by stealth, I call it. If it hasn't hit your bank, you don't miss it as much. I think we're all probably quite guilty of, if we have it doesn't matter how much money you have, you tend to spend what you have. So if you can save it before you see it, then that helps. Funeral plans, somebody said, because savings are insured, loans are insured as well, and a lot of our members, I know our older members, they'll use their credit union accounts as a funeral plan because they know that whatever's in their savings can be up to doubled if anything happens to them. Not necessarily to use on their funeral, but a big party. Car loans as well, and Christmas loans. Christmas savings, money that you can access, instant savings accounts, but money that's a little bit harder to access as well. Gives people that confidence that it's going to be there when they need it, and that they will be told, no, they can't have it yet because it was for that special occasion. Credit unions that offer ISAs too. It's not just instant savings account, there are other savings products as well. So that was how people use a credit union on our table. And how could you promote credit unions? We had word of mouth. I know we have a 22% growth in membership in Dragon Savers, and the majority of that is word of mouth. We do some advertising. There's some collaborative advertising with credit unions, but basically it's people that have a good experience and they tell other people. And that's what I really wanted to, as a credit union, to tell the people on my table. Become a member, see what you think. You know, I think you'll like it, and then if there's anything else you want, you know that there's somebody there you can go to. So it really is about word of mouth. Leaflet sharing, if there is any sort of promotion, kind of be cross-promoted. Credit union staff going out into the community, but also sharing other things like board members and volunteers. You know, if we can do things together, there's a very small number of people. They say if you want something done, ask a busy person. You know, and that's sharing those busy people, and that's what we're doing on our table.
Again, some key areas there. Again, some different selling points of why have a credit union. And going into some areas there which I wouldn't have thought of in terms of the credit unions. So we are now sort of reaching into lunchtime. Crucial now, no pressure. There are two more groups of feedback. So if you could just feedback and then we'll go over to this group.
It's always difficult going last, or last but one, because most people have said what you talked about anyway. We had a wide range, we got on our table a wide range of organisations, two credit union members, town councils, county councils, consultancy, and we've got a health board person here. So the kind of conversations ranged around the similarities of why people join the credit union and the ways that we can help people that are some way use the services of the organisation. I think the conversation ranged around regulation, common bonds. For me, I think it was important to the people around the table to understand that credit unions offer the only regulated alternative to what I use the quintessential young mum on a housing estate washing machine breaks down. What would they do? What would she do? Well, you know, the answer would be Bright House, doorstep lender, family, loan shark. All of those, the minimum would be Bright House is probably, to get it on credit, be about 3 times, probably it's 500% upwards. So it's important, I think, for the organisation around our table that didn't have a huge amount of knowledge of credit unions to understand that actually we are the only regulated low-cost alternative. So that was important. What else was there, people? We talked, oh yes, about how town council could help, for instance. Gateway in Monmouth and Torline has support of Abergavenny, Chepstow, Pontypool Town Council, who have put £15,000 of their reserves into the credit unions. So that's an easy way that organisations that do have reserves put them into a credit union. John is a corporate member, which since 2012, people can do, or organisations can do. That's a very, very easy way of putting the money into the community, that money to be used to lend out to other members. So that's about it, really. I think everything else that we talked about has been talked about on other tables. So thanks.